Hello, this is Rachel Cipriano coming again from Magnificent Resilience. I'm just making a follow-up Hurricane Ian log just to let all of you know that if you haven't already heard, and I so appreciate everybody who's reached out, that where we are in Land O'Lakes, fortunately, we are very unscathed. Basically, we were expecting torrential rain, potential for flooding, some wind damage, etc. Most likely, or likely power outages, and none of that materialized. I think I was kind of restless through the night. Part of my half awake, half asleep situation being, where's this rainstorm coming? So we normally have a lot more significant rains in this area. Just during the whole hurricane season, like anywhere else, we can have some pretty intensive storms. And, fortunately for us, not so fortunately for others, we kind of dodged that bullet, so to speak, but in our typical how we try to live our lives, our family, Craig and I are going to seek to find out how we can help the people of Fort Myers and Cape Coral and those areas so hard hit by this historic hurricane. And I'm sure you may have heard this is 500 years we haven't had the potential for flooding like this. And so there are people very affected today. I feel very fortunate, very blessed, and I want to take that good fortune and pay it forward. Some of you may know that we had considered moving to Florida in 2017. We'd come down here for a visit, and we had visited that Cape Coral, Fort Myers area and kind of gotten information from the realtors and people there, what they tend to experience. And unfortunately, that is an area that, for whatever reason, can be hit. And so when we returned to Illinois, keep in mind this was 2017, I said, okay, let's just think about this. Let's pray about it. And right about the time we got back, not long thereafter, Hurricane Irma was scheduled to hit, which it did, as many may remember. And basically the whole state of Florida was encouraged to evacuate. So I said, okay, we've got our answer. So my family was a bit surprised in 2020 when, for whatever reason, I was ready to move to Florida, and we did so. But being a very much security type person, I wanted to do that research very carefully. I love the beach. I absolutely love it. But I was not going to move too close to the water. Again, even where I am, I'm about 40 minutes from Tampa. It doesn't mean that you can't experience wind damage, potential for flooding, these types of scenarios, losing power, but nothing compared to what we saw in Naples with that intense flooding, people's homes flooding, bridges were damaged in some of the islands from what I understand. So no, I wasn't on board for anything like that. I'm just too risk averse as a person. So anyway, I consider ourselves very fortunate, and I want to pass on that good fortune and help those who were not in that situation. And one of the things that can happen with hurricanes is that while they move slowly and there are models and opportunities for people to prepare, the tricky part about the whole situation is that the hurricane can turn. Many may remember with Hurricane Ian, there was talk that it was going to head for the Tampa area, which hadn't happened in about 100 years. And it did turn, and it ended up going more south, as we've been talking about that Fort Myers, Cape Coral area. And that's just what has happened time and time again. There's a very interesting Native American legend about it, that it has something to do with burial mounds that protect it. But also there is some degree of scientific explanation that basically, from what I read an article, it would have to turn in a very awkward southernmost way to hit. But it's not impossible, and obviously it did happen 100 years ago when it was less populated and less affected, that it would affect infrastructure and that kind of thing. So it's always important to be vigilant and never become complacent, that just because everything was fine for us this time, that we won't need to be prepped for next time. So anyway, just one of those hazards of living in a tropical paradise, and just wanted to share with you all kind of those updates, let you know maybe a little bit more, and reminding you that a hurricane is always a great metaphor for the need for resilience, because those storms of life are going to come, whether they're literal or figurative. And the best way that you can prepare for those storms is to have the understanding they're going to come, and to mitigate by being strong in your mind, strong in your spirit, in your body, and keep on keeping on. Okay, signing off now, Rachel Cipriano with Magnificent Resilience.